Hey Mike, how you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Doing good. How's everything in your neck of the woods?
I'm fine. And how is your neck of the woods?
Doing pretty good.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
I
Now,
like your hair like that.
oh, thank you very much. Now, I heard from a little bird that you went you went downtown last night.
That bird was correct. Yes, I was downtown from about, oh, I think about 5:30 to around 10:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
How was it?
the short version is that it's really busy. Lots of customers. It looked a lot like it did before the pandemic. I saw very few people wearing masks. I would say 15% maybe. Looked like no effort at social distancing at all. All the casinos, the employees were all wearing masks. Some of them did temperature checks, but there wasn't anywhere near the safety precautions that they were doing on the strip.
Oh,
So
so they weren't
if
cleaning as much?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What was
No,
that?
I'm sorry. I said, oh, so they're not cleaning as much?
I didn't specifically look for how often anything got cleaned, but I didn't see people actively cleaning anything. So yeah, it really struck me as much as how it was before the pandemic, except there were limitations on chairs. Now, unlike downtown, it seemed like every single slot machine was turned on, but they took out half the chairs. And they
Oh,
still
okay.
had the same kind of restrictions on chairs that I saw on the strip. So, which tends to be 3 at a blackjack size table, 4 on roulette, 5 on poker, and 6 on craps.
Okay. And then did you see the dividers on the tables?
I only saw those at the El Cortez, surprisingly.
Oh, okay. I heard the El Cortez did a pretty good job as far as cleaning policies and procedures, as well as making sure that their employees follow all of the sanitary guidelines and everything, cleaning up after people, wearing masks, that kind of a thing.
I can't say it looked nice and clean, and that was the only place that I would say was less crowded than usual.
Mhm.
I think they get an older crowd there, and I think the older people are still more afraid to come back. So I would say that
Okay.
if you like downtown, but you want your elbow room, that the El Cortez would be a good pick.
Okay, that's good to know. So the people you saw downtown when you went down there were mainly younger people, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, that type of thing?
Yeah, the young crowd.
Okay. The people who feel invincible.
Yes, immortal.
Immortal, yes, exactly. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about for your downtown trip?
I will say that some of the restaurants were still closed. Like I met some customers of the Golden Nugget complaining that there weren't many restaurant choices. I think there were only 2 places open there, and but everything east of Las Vegas Boulevard, those restaurants were back open. So
Okay.
yeah, what can I say? I would recommend that if people want to come back to Vegas and they want the Vegas excitement, downtown is a good place. And if they want things a little safer and quieter, then I would go to a nice strip casino.
Okay. So when you were downtown, did you notice, besides the casinos, being open, did you notice all of the other businesses were closed down? Or like you said, were they open and everyone was open and, welcoming and you could go anywhere?
I didn't feel that welcoming spirit that I felt on the strip. But then again, I went to the strip the day they reopened. And yesterday was 6 days after the reopening. Um, all the side businesses on the strip, like the convenience stores, those seem to be all open. Yeah, it was just some of the restaurants, like Vic and Anthony's at the Golden Nugget was closed. Of course, every show is still closed. So, yeah, but you won't have much difficulty finding something to eat downtown.
Okay. Did the Fremont Street Canopy have any interesting light shows or anything like fireworks or welcome back or anything like that?
Nothing custom. I didn't think about this, but they did have a kind of a mellow light show that looked like you were going through an asteroid field, with lots of rocks flying around.
Uh-huh.
And it had a score that was, I guess, more classical music. But yeah, I didn't see the really loud ones like The Who and Queen and those kind of shows. They did have some kind of noisy stage acts, nothing real elaborate. But yeah, but it was noisy. It was, these stage acts could be quite loud.
Yeah.
And the music that they played between the light shows was loud. So yeah, there was a lot of energy, shall we say.
Everyone's happy to get back.
Uh-huh.
So Matt Rich has a question, and he said, do carnival games now being played face up give any sort of significant advantage to a player, like Mississippi Stud, Let It Ride, anything like that?
Not unless you know what you're doing. So if you play by the basic strategy, it's not going to make any difference. But I've looked at this before. In the game High Card Flush, it helps you to look at the other cards. Like if you have a borderline raising or folding hand, it can help to look at the other player's cards. And I write about this on my site, but I think with only 2 other players allowed at the table, it's only going to dent the house advantage somewhat, but not enough to overcome the house advantage. And yeah, but things like 3-card poker, information from other player cards hardly helps at all. And if you don't know how to correctly implement that information, I wouldn't use it at all and just focus on your own cards.
Cool. Good advice.
Thanks.
So we have a comment from one of our viewers. They said the Bellagio had dividers. By the way, masks were optional for players. Caesars had no dividers, but had to wear masks, which were mandatory at the tables. Also not consistent was being allowed to touch the cut card. What are your thoughts on that?
Let me think. I did go to Caesar's Palace the day of the reopening, and I can confirm the dividers at the Bellagio, and I can confirm no dividers at Caesar's. I didn't try to play at either of those casinos, so I don't know about the mask policy. I did play at a couple places downtown, and masks were optional, and I tend to think that's probably the case everywhere downtown. And about the cut card, I played some blackjack at the Golden Gate, and I do remember, I didn't think about it at the time, but I'm pretty sure I never touched the cut card. And for a while I was I'm pretty sure nobody touched it, okay. which would seem consistent with what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. As a dealer, you would see people do the craziest thing with a cut card. I do not recommend. I've had people kiss the cut card, which I do not recommend, because I've seen people women put the cut card down their shirt. I've seen men put the cut card down their pants. You don't want to kiss the cut card. The cut card's nasty, just to let people know. So we have another comment from a viewer, Wayne. Do you feel that the odds on slots have tightened up after the coronavirus across most casinos or casino groups?
I don't think they've changed. I haven't. I mean, the casinos don't tell you if they've tightened or loosened their slots. But I've done just a cursory look at video poker, and that seemed to be the same. And just knowing what I know about how casino management thinks, they tend to have the attitude that unless there's a compelling reason to change anything, then don't change it. And the mindset in casinos is that if someone in management makes a decision and it goes well, he won't get credit, but if it goes badly, he'll get blamed. This was true at a casino I used to work at that started with a V. And yeah, so there is a disincentive to take chances in casino management. And for that reason, I tend to think that they just left all that the same.
Okay. So our next one is from Jules. And Jules said that the only place I saw clean ships was the Treasure Island. I would see someone walking around with a UV wand. Now, did you see how the casinos clean their chips either on the strip or downtown?
No, I've heard something about these UV cleaners, but I have yet to see what they look like or how they do it.
Okay. So our next one is from Joey. And for a first-time trip to Las Vegas, what would be your number one tip to a solo traveler?
That's a pretty good one. Just one single tip. In terms of gambling, it would be to understand how to play a game properly before you sit down and play. And I know he said just one thing, but keep your gambling in moderation. Think of it as just entertainment money, not as a good business opportunity. And to not overdo the alcohol, and to be courteous to people, and try to do stuff besides gambling. And if the weather is nice, try to do stuff outdoors. And yeah, have a good time and be nice to other people.
Sounds pretty good. I got one to add in there too. If you are brand new to Las Vegas and you've never been here before, please do not walk from, let's say, the Stratosphere to downtown. It's not a good idea. Take a cab or an Uber. That's my tip.
And given the choice, I would go with Uber.
Yeah. So our next one is from Six Side, and it looks like we're going into the political arena here for a second. What is your opinion on the odds for Trump to win? Because I know that you are betting on who's going to win the election. So someone wants to know what you feel the odds are at the moment.
Yeah, just a few days ago, I bet another $5,000 on Trump. And the usual disclaimer, I'm not saying this, I'm not making a political statement that I like him or dislike him. I'm deliberately trying to not say that. But I think if you look at the history of presidential elections since the television age, which I put at 1960, the Kennedy-Nixon election, the more charismatic and strong candidate has won every time. And yes, Trump is having a horrible week and a horrible 3 months, but the voters have a really short memory. And George Floyd will be a thing of history by November. And I think he's going to run a real strong campaign. And I think that Russia's going to be out there helping him. And I think Biden is an especially weak candidate. So what do I think his probability of winning is? I really hate to say, but I'm just going to say, and you heard it from me right now on June 11th, that if you can get, right now you can get plus 110 odds on Trump, and I think that's a really good value. Well, and it's maybe after the election, I will be begging you guys for forgiveness. I'm sticking by that.
Okay. So Six Side, I hope that answers your question. Next question is from Ingrid. How do you think the craps tables will change?
The only thing that's changed about them is they only allow 3 players on a side, so 6 total players. And I think that there are 2 sets of 5 dice, and they switch them out after each shooter. And I think that while one set is in use, they are cleaning somehow the other set. But other than that, all the rules remain the same.
Okay. And did you notice any dividers on the craps tables?
The only place I saw those, I know I saw them at the Bellagio, and I know the Wynn had dividers on some tables and some tables not, but I don't think they had any dividers in craps. So yeah, that's all I can think about that's changed in craps.
Okay.
And by the way, I have some questions from the Wizard of Vegas, but I forgot to print them out. But if there's ever a lull in the peanut gallery questions, I can quickly switch over there to see what we've got.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, so if you guys are watching and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. We would love to answer them for you. Just let us know what you feel about, gambling, what's going on in Las Vegas, everything opening up. My question to you, Mike, is what is the difference between the Strip and downtown? How they opened up and how they're operating?
Yeah, now I'm comparing apples to oranges a little bit because I went to the Strip the day of the reopening and I went downtown 6 days later. But in general, the Strip is being much more cognizant of safety and social distancing and shall we say, putting the health of their patrons first, where I think the downtown is just saying, let's party, let's go back to the old ways. So depending upon what you're looking for, that should, make your decision where to play with that information in mind.
Does that mean that more people on the Strip were wearing masks than the people on downtown?
I would say that downtown it was about 15% and the Strip about 25%.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so good to know if you guys are interested. We have a couple people saying thank you. One of them is Manan. Thank you, Michael, for your videos. They have helped me a lot throughout the years, and I finally got to say thank you live.
You're welcome. I'm happy they helped.
So our next one is, and we have another one from Ingrid saying, thank you for teaching me how to play craps.
You're welcome.
Our next question is from Joey. Do you have any plans for another book?
I'm afraid not.
No, you're not going to do that again? Come on, the torture's so much fun.
I would love to write a book called Gambling 101 that's more, I don't want to say dumbed down, but more simplified than Gambling 102. But I think that there's a lot more competition for the elementary gambling books that it probably wouldn't sell that well. So, and Gambling 102, I definitely am proud of that book, and it's definitely made me some decent side money. But if I had to look at the work that went into writing that and the money that I got back as my author's share, I probably would say that mathematically it didn't make much sense, but it does give you a great sense of pride to be a published author, and it's always a great little gift to give people. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm afraid no second book plans at this time.
Would you ever write a fiction book?
No, I'm really not that good of a writer. I mean, I think I'm a good technical writer if it's something with a lot of numbers involved, but yeah, otherwise I'm not that good, to be perfectly honest with you. And I wouldn't even know what my story would be about.
Well, writing a book is hard.
How is yours coming along, by the way? I know you've been kept very busy.
Slowly. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to write every Friday now, but
do you want to give the audience a plug about what your book is about?
So, okay, I'm writing a book. It is, the working title is The Ultimate Guide to Being a Casino Dealer, but I know that's not a good title, so it will be something different later on. But it's basically what it's like to get a job as a dealer and work in the industry as a dealer. It's broken up into 3 parts. The first part is actually getting a job as a dealer, what you have to learn, the things you go through, stuff they don't normally teach you in the school, and also a wide variety of experiences from people all around the world. The second part is what to do once you have gotten a job as a dealer. Now you're a break-in dealer. Now here's some things that you might want to know as you get into this industry. And then the third part of the book is how to give yourself a raise. So once you're in a casino, how we normally give ourselves a raise is we go to another casino. So if I'm working at, let's say, the Treasure Island, making 100, 150 a day, I want to give myself a raise. I would go to the Venetian and make 200 a day or 250 a day. Well, what do you do if you can't do that? If you can't hop from casino to casino, how do you give yourself a raise? And that's what the third part of the book talks about.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
And it's going to be like 300 or 400 pages. It's big.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it too, just to get it done.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'd love to do a book about game shows, in particular the strategy of games like Price is Right and Jeopardy. But that would be an enormous amount of work, and I'm afraid it just wouldn't sell that well, and it would get outdated quickly.
What's your favorite game? Game show.
My favorite, well, I mean, I love to watch Jeopardy. That's probably the only one that I watch on a particular, like a regular basis. But I love to analyze The Price is Right. But do I actually watch it often? Almost never. I just don't have the time. And I just find myself like screaming at the TV, you know, watching these players just make the worst decisions, especially when they're bidding to even play a game. Just terrible strategy.
Well, you're a pretty good Jeopardy player yourself, aren't you? Like,
well, I'm at least good with Vegas Jeopardy.
So if you guys don't know, Mike Shackelford was so kind and gracious to be a contestant on my Jeopardy live stream, which we did over at Vegas Aces. And you kicked some butt and you walked away as a champion. So I'm very, very happy to say that you are coming back as a returning champion. And we have a couple people who want to give you a run for your money. So it should be a very fun and interesting Jeopardy game.
I'm looking forward to it. Yes, Heather matched me against two people that I think had just average knowledge about Las Vegas and gambling. So
yeah, it wasn't fair for me to put them against you.
Yeah, to be honest, I felt it was kind of not a fair fight, and but you know, I had a great time, and it was so much fun, and it was great questions. But it looks like, if I can see my calendar correctly, my next game is going to be at 1 p.m. on June 25th.
Yep, that's correct. So we are really looking forward to having you on. And then we could talk about it afterwards when we do your live stream.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Awesome. By the way, I think some of the answers I gave were technically correct, but but yeah. I didn't want to, you know, it's not like I was worried about losing. So.
Well, if you want to dispute any answers or any questions, please email me and we will totally fix that.
Well, one of them is, what do you call a bet on 3 numbers in roulette?
Yes, and you said...
Yeah, you had the main answer of street.
Uh-huh.
For some reason, I wasn't thinking of that, but in singles, and let me think, in single zero roulette, no, in double zero roulette, you can bet on the combination of 0, 00, and 2.
Uh-huh.
And that is called the hat, which is what I said.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know. I think you were what, 7,000 to 2,000. So yeah, we'll give you that. I don't think it changes to.
That's all right. I should have said street, knowing that that's probably the answer you were expecting, but I just had a brain freeze and just was trying to think of the hat.
No worries. So we have a lot of questions from the viewers. Let's get to some of them. Rhodes, and I'm sure I totally butchered that. Apologies. Rhodes says, what do you think about in Pai Gow Tiles being allowed to bet commission on top of your bet? For example, your bet is $25 and $1.25 on top, so $26.25 total. And then if you win, you win $25. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's I highly recommend doing that, and that lowers the house advantage from. Let me think. From 4%. No, from. Okay. Let me do some quick math here.
We're doing math. We should have the Jeopardy thing. Na 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 na. Dun, dun, dun. Of course, people don't want to listen to me. I'm a horrible singer.
Okay, so for every bet that you win, it lowers the commission from 5% to 4.76%. So if they allow what Rhodes just said is paying the commission in advance, that does indeed lower the house advantage by 0.24%, which is significant. Like a video poker player will fight over every 0.01%, and here you're getting 0.24% easily. So I would definitely recommend doing that if the casino allows it.
Now, is this the same if you lose it? So if you lose that 26-25, is the house edge still the same, or does that change? And then would you play like this if you were in the casino?
I would absolutely play that. Let's see. Yeah, I absolutely would bet the commission on top. It lowers the overall house advantage of the game less because you don't win every single hand. But yeah, no matter which way you do it, if you lose everything on the table. But when you win, you're getting a bigger percentage of your bet. For example, if you don't prepay, then you're giving up a 5% commission. And if you do prepay, you're only giving up 4.76%.
Okay, very good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next question is from a mathist. And they said, what is the spacing like on craps? So when you, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. So the rule is 3 players per side. And at the win, they actually had a barrier in the rack where you might put your chips. And so I believe that there were 6 places to put chips before, and they actually put something on top of half of them to prevent people from putting chips there. So you're actually spacing out the players. But downtown, it looked like they were enforcing the 3 players per side rule, but where they stood was up to them.
So they could stand right next to the stickman or the base dealer if they wanted?
And next to each other if they wanted.
Okay. So the next question is from John. With odds changing so much, why not bet on both sides of the election? I'm assuming the odds have changed enough.
If you knew the way the odds were going to swing, that would be a great idea. Arbitraging the election. Of course, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah.
But if you think that that things are going to get better for Trump, that this would be a good time to get him cheap now, but maybe things are only going to get worse, in which case you should bet Biden now. So you need to be clairvoyant to do that. And I don't claim to have a skill at that. So that's a gamble.
Okay. And then on that note, Wayne also wanted to bring up that no president has ever been reelected during a recession. And that's what we're going through at the moment. So they just wanted to bring that up.
But Trump is going to argue that the stock market has done well. And if not for the pandemic, the stock market has done really well. And
didn't it just drop 1.8 points?
Somebody mentioned that to me this morning, that it dropped a lot today, but I didn't actually look at it.
Yeah.
But I tend to think that things are going to get economically better by the election. Mm-hmm. So, but also I don't put a lot of stock in statistics like that. For example, in the election between George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, all of these statistics like that favor George H.W. Bush. And every single computer model said that Bush was going to win. And then he got clobbered by Clinton. So all these crystal balls were just shattered on election day.
Well, that's the thing about computer generated, outcomes like this is people are the ones that are putting this information in and they're the ones that are programming it. So there is, a biased and, a human error factor.
Well, it wasn't so much like, I would say human error is at that election, the 1992 election?
Something
Yeah.
like that.
People just threw out statistics like that. Like, when the economy is basically as strong as it was in 1992, the incumbent is reelected, and he wasn't. And I tend to think that voters don't vote so much based on economic factors, but it's more so factors of charisma and personality. And and again, I'm making no political statement, but I think that Trump beats Biden on personality easily.
Well, I am going to bet against you, and I hope to God that he doesn't get reelected.
Okay, how much do you want to bet?
Oh, God, I don't have money. Are you kidding me? $1.
$1 bet. Let the record show. It's going to be a pride dollar, too.
It's going to be a pride dollar. Hell yeah. I love those. So our next question is from I'm sure I'm butchering it. I'm sorry. Minna? Sorry. Do you have to play the pass line or don't pass? Okay. Do I have to play the pass line or don't pass if I don't have to and still play the come and place bets? I don't think I understand what he's talking about. Do you?
I think he's asking, is a pass or don't bet pass bet required to make the other bets? And the answer is no. I think they're only required if you want to shoot. But otherwise, you can just bet whatever you wish. And someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and if you have time, let me flip over and check a Wizard of Vegas question.
Yeah, go for it.
And I also wanted to follow up on the Social Security question from last week. Can you see me right now, or are you seeing what's on my computer?
No, I could still see you. I think you have to share your computer in order for it to work.
Okay.
So let's see while you're doing that.
Okay.
Wayne says a journal type book of actual daily thoughts and bets, kind of a day in the life. That would be an interesting type of book to write. A journal type book of like what you just do normally and your thoughts and your, math scribbles, like a napkin.
Well, a good idea would be to write a book about math puzzles that I like. And this idea has been done before, but I just love a good math problem that doesn't require real difficult math to solve and logic puzzles. But yeah, there's other books like that out there. I tend to think that the other books, the questions are too easy and they require practically no math at all. I would like to write something that at least requires some calculus, but not a lot of memorization of formulas. Yeah, I would love to do that. Maybe I'll do that when I retire, but as we just said, it's more effort writing a book than you think.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at a Wizard of Vegas question.
Okay.
Odious Gambit asks, how do you like using Bitcoin and do you have any advice on it? He also asks, well, let me answer this one first. I do like Bitcoin. I use it when I play online. It's so difficult to make a deposit from the US at an online casino. Otherwise, because credit card transactions are pretty much blocked. But Bitcoin is really quite easy. It's not perfect. Sometimes it can take a few hours for a transaction to clear. If you pay like an extra, I don't know, like an extra $1 or so, it can speed up the transaction time. But Bitcoin is really convenient and it's really useful for playing online. And what else could I say? I highly recommend against just hoarding Bitcoin because you think it's a good investment. I am very bearish on the value of Bitcoin long term. I think that it's kind of a fad or some competing product is going to come along that people like better. So I would use Bitcoin for the purpose that it was intended, to facilitate financial transactions. But yeah, don't hoard onto it like as an investment.
Okay. And our
next... Wait, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, it's okay.
Let me finish this. Let me get to Odious Gambit's second question.
Okay.
Do you like ethnic foods and that are supposed to be hot and spicy served that way, or made not so hot? Do you have a favorite hot sauce? When I am asked how spicy I want food, which tends to only happen in Thai restaurants, I will usually say on the 0 to 10 scale, I'll say somewhere between 5 and 7, depending upon my mood. But I've noticed that how spicy you get it is pretty random. You can say 3 and get something spicy, and you can say 8 and get something not so spicy. So yeah, I don't like to hide the flavor too much of food with too much hot sauce. But with Mexican food, I do like to splash on a lot of salsa. And if there's no salsa available, yes, I do absolutely use hot sauce. Do I have a favorite brand? Between Tabasco and what's it called? Tio Patio. I like Tio better. There was a brand in Baltimore called Krabby Dick's I really like, but I have never seen it outside of Maryland. So
can you order it online?
I probably could, but I didn't like it that much to buy it online.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about as far as I can take that.
Okay. And then I know we had a question from last week because we were talking about the Social Security math, and then you did the math. So did you want to talk a little bit about what you did?
Yes, thanks for asking. So right now, the full retirement age is increasing, but the only place that I did the math for, actually, I think this answer will be correct for anybody. But I will say that for people born in 1960 or later, that the full retirement age is 67. And the rule is that if you delay your retirement past that, then you will get rewarded with what's called delayed retirement credits. And these are 2/3 of 1% for every month that you delay your retirement. And you can also retire early, but then your benefit gets reduced by a different way. But unless you need the money or you don't expect to live very long, I would at least try to get to the full retirement age. And beyond that, here's the answer. If you expect to live past the age of 79.42, then you should delay your retirement until age 70. And if you don't think you're going to make it to 79.42, then you should grab everything at 67 that you can.
And how much more do they get if they do that?
Yeah, like I was saying, your benefit goes up by 2/3 of 1% for every month that you delay. So if you were to delay the full 36 months past age 67, then what you get goes up by 24%.
Okay. Is it compounding or is it not compounding?
There are things called COLAs, cost of living adjustments, every year, but all this math did not factor that in because they try to scale the benefits to inflation. So I could conveniently ignore that factor.
Okay. Cool. Did you want to go over anything else before we start going back to viewer questions?
Okay, let's see what else we got here at Wizard of Vegas. Which resorts would you and Heather recommend for non-gamblers staying in Vegas? Do you want to start, Heather?
Sure, I'll start. It depends if you have kids or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have kids and you're not planning on gambling or doing much gambling, I would recommend, of course, Circus because they're super cheap and there's a lot of stuff for the kids to do. And if kids wreck something, it doesn't matter because Circus is sort of trash anyway. But it's a good place to go if you're wanting to bring your kids and you're wanting to stay on a budget. If not that, then I would say Excalibur. If you are not having kids, then I would recommend a different, either let's say the Luxor, the corner suite, you could get that pretty cheap, and they have a jacuzzi right next to the window. And if you ask for the west facing window, you could actually sit there in the jacuzzi and watch the sunset, and it's really romantic. And I think it's like 150. It's super cheap. That's really nice. Or go to the Palms and get their suite. It has like a pool. It has, games like billiard games, pool games. Like, it's just really interesting. So I would recommend something like that.
Yeah, that would be nice if you can get one of those. I know one suite at the Palms has a bowling alley.
Yeah. Yeah, they have some interesting ones up there.
My advice with kids is that if you have young kids, I would pick someplace else besides Vegas if you have any choice in the matter. I think even at Excalibur or Circus, it's still not. There's still not that much for kids to do, and I felt really bad because when my daughter was young, like 6 or something, a friend invited her to a birthday party, or maybe I just took her. I don't remember the reasons, but she was playing at the Adventure Dome, and there was one thing for the younger kids that was kind of just like an exploration area. And she went into this, basically a ball pit, and there were 4 other kids already in there, and they all just started pegging her with balls. And they were so mean. They were just throwing one ball after another at my daughter, and she just started crying her head off.
Oh.
And this got the attention of the woman who worked there, and she told them to stop. But I felt so badly for her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Poor baby.
Yeah, but I guess if you had older kids, like young teenagers, they would have more fun, with the carnival games and things like that. But kids aside, I would say that if you're going to Vegas and you didn't need to gamble, I really like the South Point. Yes, you can gamble there, but I think it's a really nice place, very reasonably priced. There isn't a whole lot to do close to it, but I think it offers an outstanding value.
Sounds good. Cool. Do we have any more forum questions before we continue with the viewers?
Yeah, let's see. Yes. Young Gilles also asks, young people in Southern California will often celebrate their 21st birthdays by drinking and gambling in Vegas. How do young Vegas locals celebrate their 21st birthdays? Well, what did you do for your 21st, Heather?
What I did for my 21st was I took $21 and I went to the Mega Bucks, and I had 7 pulls at $3 each. So all lucky numbers, and I lost it all. And then I left. That's seriously what I did for my 21st.
I would have shown you a good time if I was there.
What'd you do for your 21st?
So I was in college at the time, UC Santa Barbara, and sadly, it fell like in the middle of the week or something, and I didn't. Yeah, I think that if you want to do something, you really have to organize it yourself, because probably nobody else is going to step up and do it for you, and that was exactly the case. So when it started to look like there wasn't going to be any party for me, I drove to LA, and my dad took me to a bar that had a live band. So, my first legal time in a bar having a drink. So I'll always remember that. So that was one of a rare good experience that I had with my dad.
Awesome.
And this band continued to play at that same venue for another 25 years. And, I went back by myself there to watch them many, many times after that. It was called, the Jolly Roger in Long Beach, and the band was called Flyer. Remember it very clearly.
Cool.
But 21-year-olds in general, the locals, I don't know. My older daughter turned 21 here, and we went out for a family dinner at the Wynn, and
Did she want
Shacklefords don't really party that party.
Did she want to gamble at least the first time, being 21?
She gambled previously in Aruba when she was 20. Their gambling age is 18.
Okay.
And we had her younger brother and sister with us, so it wasn't convenient. No, wait a minute. Yeah, now that I think about it, before dinner, I gambled with her a little bit at the Wynn while the rest of the family went to the fashion show mall.
Cool.
But I don't think she has gambling in her blood the way I do and the way my great grandfather did. So,
Okay. Cool.
so it's just something she did and kind of, I guess, crossed off the list. I don't know that she goes back and does it very often.
Been there, done that. Let's do something different.
People just don't get the point of gambling, and I get that.
Well, I mean,
You don't find it fun. Why do it? I mean, it's a bad investment.
And we were raised on video games. We get so much more for our money.
Okay. Is there a question from the peanut gallery?
Oh, we got a lot of questions from the peanut gallery. Next question is from Shimmering Pilgrim. Have table minimums been raised to compensate for less capacity?
I think they've stayed the same, just based on my observation.
Okay.
If anything, they might come down a little bit because I think that despite the rule of three chairs per table, there's a lot of empty chairs out there.
Yeah, so they're trying to get people in. That makes sense. Our next question is from Blade Runner. Love that movie. How honest are the casinos in terms of giving players a fair game and not a rigged game?
Okay, he asked you.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't see that part. Okay, so basically for a casino, the integrity and honesty of the game is 100%. They have to keep the integrity and honesty of the game. If you look back to the history of casinos, yes, casinos did rig the games. Actually, it used to be called the house edge, and the house edge was really high, and players were totally cool if the casinos took their money because they were there for fun. But there were definitely things that were happening where the casino was rigging the game. So when Las Vegas was built and the Nevada Gaming Commission was put aboard, and they were, actually thinking, okay, we need to make this legal. The honesty and integrity of the game was a huge factor. They had to keep it honest. They had to keep the integrity, which means no rigging. They had to watch out for their employees. Their employees were actually a bigger concern than the players, and it's still that way today. They have to make sure that the employees aren't cheating. They're not cheating either the players or they're not cheating the casinos themselves. And a lot of what they do with game security and table protection have to do with maintaining the honesty and integrity of the game. It's so crucial and important for casinos to do this, because if they were found to be rigging, they would lose that legitimacy, and therefore they would lose their industry and no one would come and play. They would lose that whole money bag. They would lose that money pot. So they want to keep it as honest and as they possibly can. Mike, you want to add anything to that?
I basically agree with that you're not going to see outright cheating like dealing seconds. But if there's a big jackpot involved, I think the casinos will look for any kind of technicality to not pay you.
Yeah, but that's corporations. That's like a corporation thing.
Sorry to keep interrupting you.
I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was a guy in my forum who was playing Pai Gow poker at the Flamingo, and he was betting the fortune,
Mm-hmm.
and he hit a, I guess it was a natural 7-card straight flush that paid, I believe it was supposed to pay $75,000 or $100,000, but they have a sign that they put on the tables that says maximum aggregate payout of, I think, $25,000, but they forgot to put it on the table.
Are you serious?
So he hit it, and then they started to pay him $25,000, and he said, "Why? It says right here on your pay table that I get paid whatever it is, like $80,000." And they said, "Oh, we have a maximum aggregate payout rule of $25,000." And the player said, "Where does it say that?" And then they brought out the sign and said, "Oh, we forgot to put this here." And he said, and the player correctly said, "That was not on the table when I made the bet." And they still refused to pay him, and he took it to gaming, and gaming correctly sided with the player.
Good.
But that just goes to show, I mean, the Flamingo had no legal leg to stand on there, and yet they still fought against paying him. And so I want to correctly give a finger wagging of shame to the Flamingo.
I think it's not so much as they were trying to rig it. It's more of a corporation thing where you just try to keep as much money as possible. And that's why they come up with the loopholes like the maximum aggregate. I'm really, really glad the Nevada Gaming Control Board sided with the player. Because that was pretty messed up. They should have paid him that. Now, just so people know, the Nevada Gaming Control Board, it's really easy to get a hold of them. So if you ever have any questions, if you think something's happening, you can call them and they will be there to assist you.
I agree with that 100%. They are well staffed. They have plenty of agents. And if you have a dispute about anything, they're just a phone call away. And just if you're not satisfied with a casino's decision, I would at least fight it through a supervisor, maybe the table games shift manager. And if you're not satisfied, I think that they have to tell you their phone number if you ask. So give them a call, and I think someone would probably be there within half an hour. And they will investigate the matter and listen to both sides and make a determination. And it used to be that it seemed like everything went the casino's way. But now I think they're a lot more fair. I think that if it was a matter involving millions of dollars, they might be subtly pressured to side the casino's way. But as that Flamingo case showed, I think for most disputes, I think they would be fair. And most cases that I hear about, I think that they made the right call.
Yeah. I agree completely. Cool. Do you want to add anything to that before we go on to the next question? Anything?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. So our next question is from, looks like we're getting another one from Mana, dun, 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 dun. Mana, dun, 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 dun. I love that. So he is visiting, or she is visiting Las Vegas this weekend. Yay. Is there a way I could get to meet any of you? One, and then two, is this okay to be in Las Vegas so soon after the opening? Are there any concerns? What is your advice?
To answer the second one first, I'm not an epidemiologist. I think maybe I'm out there doing stuff and eating in restaurants and things like that, but I'm also not deliberately like over shopping and things like that. Like if I need something, I won't hesitate to go buy it. And I've probably eaten in restaurants half a dozen times since they reopened. But everyone needs to decide for themselves. I'm not saying where you should stand in terms of having fun and social distancing. Just wash your hands a lot if you are out there doing stuff. And as to number one, I live way out in Summerlin, and if you see me in a casino, I love it when people say hi, but I don't like to schedule something on my calendar to meet people I don't know. It's just kind of my policy, and I know it sounds terribly snooty, but I'm a family man and I'm very busy, and if I say I'm going to meet you for a drink at 5 o'clock, then I really have to just block off that time, and it's kind of inconvenient for me.
Cool. So going back to number two, so you're basically saying you feel comfortable going down to the Las Vegas Strip to downtown, you feel comfortable playing, and you feel comfortable with the people down there and all that.
Well, I think I personally would be more comfortable playing on the Strip where things are more spread out. And I acknowledge that there's a risk, even if you play safely and go to a place that's not so crowded. But you also run a risk of driving there just to play. And, and a meteor may fall out of the sky and kill you. You take chances all the time. So you have to make educated risks or take them. And so, I would, if you really want to be safe, play at I would say a locals casino that tends to get an elderly clientele, because they are much more scared to play than the younger people. So someplace like the Suncoast, yeah, I think that would be a very safe place to play, at the downside of there not being much to do near the casino.
Okay, cool. So for my answers to those questions, I used to meet people, like, you know, if you wanted to do some pizza or whatever, like, yeah, let's go get some pizza. But now that COVID has started, unfortunately, I am quarantined until we get a vaccine. So I am no longer meeting any of my people or anything. I have a list of autoimmune disorders, so I do not feel comfortable being outside. I don't feel comfortable socializing or anything like that. So I'm going to stay in. And I think Mike is absolutely correct with answer number 2. I think that's a personal decision that you have to make on your own. Everyone is different. Everyone has their risks that they have to consider. And it also depends on if you feel comfortable going out or if you don't feel comfortable going out. So it really just depends on you.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, next question from Brad. Why do you think there aren't more skill-based electronic games akin to video poker? The only thing that I could think of that even comes close was a game called Cash King Checkers.
There are games by Gamblet that are like Pac-Man. Not Pac-Man exactly, but they do involve speed and dexterity where you're playing against somebody else. And there's another brand too, I forgot the name of it.
Gameco.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yep.
But there are companies that are getting into this, and they've been slow to catch on, to be honest with you. I mean, I haven't looked at any numbers, but every time I see these games in a casino, nobody is playing them. And I think that it's because their rake is too high. And I think that if the rake were lower, then it might become an advantage play where whatever the game is, you would get people that are really good at it just waiting for competitors to beat. So I think that if I did this kind of thing, it would still be mostly a game of luck with only a little bit of a skill element to it. And also there are slot machines that do have skill-based bonus rounds like Space Invaders, but these two have not done very well. Because I think the kind of person who plays slots is not the same person who likes video games. And I think if you wanted to play a video game, you would just play one for free. And those have also been hit by advantage players where they look at how much money is in a particular bank, like the bonus bank, and they will only play it if it gets high. So if the average person sits down and plays it, chances are the bonus bank is low, because if it were high, somebody would have already hit it before you. So that depresses the value and probably depresses the player experience. So yeah, I am bearish about the future of those.
Yeah. And also, too, slot machines are basically the video game equivalent for anyone over 60. So that's like anyone over 60, the slot machines are like their video game equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and then did you ever remember seeing that Batman game where it's a slot machine and then one of the bonuses was you had to have a race with the other players and whoever won the race got the bonus?
What was it called again?
It was a Batman one. One of the ones based off of the movie that came out with Christopher Nolan. One of the Christopher Nolan ones.
Yeah,
okay.
That one.
Okay. So next one is from Gary. Have you ever bet on both football teams in a game after the spread switched and won both tickets?
Yeah, that's called middling the game.
So what's middling the game for people who don't know?
That's where you do what he just said, where you bet one side and then the line moves and then you bet the other side. So if the final score falls in the sweet spot in between, then you win both bets. I think I've done this on prop bets a little bit, but middling, but yeah, it's not something in my normal bag of tricks. I do know a lot of people whose main thing is doing this, and what they do is they just look for a soft line. Like they may see that everybody has Ravens at +3, except the Treasure Island has them at +3.5. So you grab them at +3.5 there, and then maybe later on you see that, let's say that they're I don't know, playing the Patriots, for example, that you can get them at -2.5. So you bet the other way. And if the game hits that hits right in the middle at +3 on the Ravens, then you win both bets. And 3 is a really key number in football. So that definitely is a thing, but it's terribly time consuming, because you have to keep an eye on everybody's lines. And if you see that the South Point has an off line on this game, you have to rush out there to bet it and take a chance someone will pop it before you, or you need to hire a runner to bet this stuff for you. And yeah, you have to have. It takes a lot of money to make a little money doing that.
Good point. Okay, so the next one is from E3323. And in the game of craps, what are the odds of hitting a buck shot 8 twice in a row, i.e. 8888?
You mean 4 8s in a row?
Yes.
Well, let's see. The probability of rolling in a total of 8 is 5 in 36. So if you take that to the 4th power, that is 1 in 2,687. So yeah, so every 2,687 throws, you can expect a sequence of at least 4 8s in a row.
2,000. Okay, cool.
687. So how many times would the dice be thrown? Let's say the dice are thrown 60 times an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that will happen once every 1.87 days.
Wow. Okay, cool. Our next question is from Fun and Games. And they say, why does the Golden Nugget make the most money downtown?
I think because they're the nicest property downtown, and they're most likely to attract the high rollers. And the high rollers are the most profitable.
Good answer.
Yep. Nice and simple.
Speaking of which, Peter says you are our great leader. Thank you again.
You're welcome, my humble servant.
Yeah. Next up is Richie. Richie says, for a recreational gambler, let's see, how most casinos, MGM for example, skew comps and other rewards to slots by playing with one means. Aren't slots the best way to play in the casino?
Despite it is true that any casino will love real slot players. They get comped really well, especially compared to table game players or video poker, but it's not worth playing slots for that reason. For example, a slot player at a certain level, maybe they lose $100 an hour, and they're going to probably get back $40 per hour in comps, whereas a video poker player might only lose $20 an hour and maybe get $1 back in comps. So the slot player is losing $60 an hour overall, and the video poker player only $19 an hour. So I would rather just keep that extra money and pay for my own stuff.
Sounds good. Cool. Okay, so our next one is, I lost my spot. Let's see here. There are some casinos in foreign countries with a game called Razzle Dazzle, and the game is literally a scam. In some foreign countries, they will literally pull aces from the deck. Here in the US, we're relatively well off in terms of game integrity, yet not perfect. Have you ever seen that, Mike, either in another country or another state where the integrity and honesty of the game is not 100% perfect?
If that was true, I didn't catch it. I mean, I've played in some places like Costa Rica and Panama where maybe that was going on, but I didn't notice anything fishy. But speaking of Razzle Dazzle, is that the game where you roll a bunch of balls like in a grid and you add up the number of points?
I don't know. Fun and games. If you know the answer, please let us know in the
Yeah,
comments.
no, I'm looking it up right now.
You are? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, that is it. Okay, so here's what that is, and I've seen this in this country, is the way it works, and you see this at carnivals, is there is a grid like 8 by 8 or 10 by 10 of squares, and then they throw in a bunch of like ping pong balls randomly into this grid, and each square has a certain number of points where the ball lands, and what you do is you make your bet basically, and then they add up all these points, and then they have all these big prizes like a flat screen TV for this many points, and they have nice stuff. And but let's say, for example, well, flat screen TV is no longer a big deal. Okay, let's say that they have, let's just say they have a product that's worth, say, $1,000, and they say you need 100 points or more to get this product, and they will invite you to play. And your first time playing, they throw the balls in, they count up all the points, and they say, wow, you got 25 points. You're 25% of the way to getting that prize. And then you do it again, and it seems like you're doing okay. But then once you get to about 60 points, then it seems like you're not doing so well. Like they play, and some of the squares I think have negative points. And it seems like you're hardly moving, that you start going at a snail's pace. And if you act skeptical, then you look down and they'll say, look, add up the points yourself. And you can see that they're right. But the way they cheat is they cheat in the player's favor. Is when you first start playing, they just go, blah, 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 oh, you got 24 points. You really only got 1 point. So it gives you this false sense of confidence. And I've seen that in Mexico too. So yeah, the way it's played is a total scam.
That's good to know.
It's somewhere in an old Ask the Wizard column.
Yeah.
And I looked at the Wikipedia page. They just call it Razzle. And and they explain how the scam works.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's a good question. That's another thing I would like to write a book about, or just do something, is carnival games, and just like how you should play them if you do play them. But for the most part, you do need a lot of skill, like where you throw the baseball at the bottles. Like you should aim for the bottom part of the bottles. But all these things have some kind of a physics trick to them where it's really difficult to win. Like the one where you throw a softball into a basket at a 45-degree angle, that is really difficult to win because you can get it right in the center of that basket, but it just bounces right back out. And but you can improve your odds if you know why the game is rigged, and how you can overcome, how you can, like, there's usually some sweet spot where it's possible to win. Yeah, I'd love to write more about that. So
Cool.
Maybe, but other people have done this before, so I try to be creative and break new ground.
So do you ever play carnival games when you just go out for fun?
Only if I'm with somebody who doesn't seem to like gambling. And one game that I like that they have at Excalibur and Circus Circus, it's called the Camel Race, and it's where you roll a ball into this grid.
I love that one.
Yeah, that's a fun game, and even if you don't win, your money lasts a while because it takes like 2 minutes to play a game.
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy way to just win a simple teddy bear or something. So if you're with a date or something, it's a fun thing to do.
Cool. Sounds good. Now we are at 4:10. We are almost 10 minutes over. Do you want to continue and take the last, I think we have 2 or 3 more questions, or do you want to call it good for today?
Yeah, I don't like to go over time, but yeah, so time flies when you're having fun.
And if we didn't get to your question, please join us on the next one and ask us the question again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry for those who we didn't get to. Please join us next week. And a good way to make sure you get your question answered is to show up on time and ask them early.
Yeah, and write question.
Yeah, like at the beginning, like question in capital letters. That way it catches Heather's eye better.
Yep, definitely.
All right, so anything new in your world, Heather? I don't think we talked about that.
What?
Anything new with you in the last week?
No, nothing's really new. I'm getting ready to do a training video we're doing a presentation for NACPO, and it's for casino parties. If people are out there and they do casino parties, and what we're doing is we're teaching people how to train their dealers, and we're putting up a training video on Teachable, I believe it is .com. So we are going to be working on that for the following week.
Okay, yeah, these are people that definitely could use training, because when I've done like casino parties, the dealers were just terrible.
Yeah. So hopefully we can help with that. How about you? Anything really like new with you, or going to be new?
Well, we just got a parrot.
We have
in the Wizard House. He or she is a green cheek conure. This is a parrot about this big. They're very brightly green colored. So I felt it was like a good happy medium between getting something that's more attractive and fun than a parakeet, but not a whopping big ordeal like an African gray or a macaw.
Does it talk to you?
I'm sorry?
Does it talk to you?
No, green cheeks are not known for talking. But we chose that deliberately because parrots that are good at talking also just tend to squawk a lot. And I don't think anyone wanted a really noisy bird. We wanted something that was, tame and low maintenance. And based on the research I did and knowing a little bit about it before, I thought a green cheek was a happy medium between, the pros and cons of any given kind of parrot.
Okay, cool.
So maybe I will, right now we're still, we just had this bird less than a day. But maybe I will introduce him to the audience the next show.
Sounds good. Or hopefully we can see a picture of him on social media.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Mike, so much. Really, really good talking with you.
Thanking you, Heather, for setting this up and doing all the technical stuff behind the scenes. And thank you, audience, for coming. And hope to see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.